Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and welcome to the very first book of the month reading vlog of 2024. I am so excited to keep this series going on my channel. If you're new here, this is a reading vlog series I do, reading the book of the month books that I get every month. I am not sponsored by Book of the Month. I'm just a member who enjoys the service and enjoys reading the books as I get them and getting reviews out so that if you are a member, you can decide for yourself whether or not to pick up these books, to add them onto future boxes. If you're not a member, they're just regular reviews for new release books that I'm interested in. So I love doing them. I'm excited to keep them going this year, and I am very, very excited for the 4 books that I'm going to be reading in this video. I'm going to go ahead and start by introducing the 4 books. I'll tell you what little I know about them, and then this will just be a regular reading vlog where I give updates periodically as I work through these books and have some thoughts on them. I am so sorry that the sun is being so finicky right now. We are going to persevere. So let's start with the 2 books that I got in my January box. So the first book is a mystery thriller that I have been seeing so much hype for that I cannot put this book off any longer. It's First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I know truly nothing about this book. I don't know about this author. I don't know if she's a debut or what. But I've been seeing a ton of 5-star reviews for this thriller and I have to know what the hype is about. Then also this month in January, I decided to add on a backlist book that I saw also raved about last year. It didn't initially capture my attention when it was a main pick, but I saw so many great reviews for it that I knew I had to pick it up. And it's Shark Heart by Emily Haybeck. This, I believe, is an emotional, I want to say contemporary story, but it has kind of a magical realism element to it, or you could say sci-fi depending on how you look at it, but I am ready to be emotionally destroyed by it. Then my other 2 books are from my December selections. So the first one was a main pick in December that actually was an early release. It doesn't release regularly until January, so it's a perfect time to be picking it up. No One Can Know by Kate Ellis Marshall. This is another adult mystery thriller. This author wrote What Lies in the Woods last year, which I did enjoy. So I'm excited to read her next book, and I think this one is going to be similarly buzzy around the book community, so I'm wanting to give it a try. And then last but not least, a book that I added on in December, switching gears a little bit to young adult romance, but it's Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I have really enjoyed 2 of Ali Hazelwood's 3 adult contemporary romances, so I'm hoping her young adult also works for me. It looks like it involves chess, which I am excited about, but other than that, I don't really know what to expect from the book, so we're going in with an open mind. So those are the 4 books. I really am so excited for all of them. My only update that I have so far is that I have just barely started First Lie Wins. I'm only about 45 pages into it, and a little like micro twist just happened that has me super intrigued, so I can't wait to get back to this audiobook, figure out what's going on. I probably will save more of a synopsis for once I'm further into the book because I'm still getting a grasp of things. But it definitely opened with a bang. I'm super intrigued to see where it goes. So this is the book that I am going to continue on reading, and I will let you know when I have an update. Let's just go ahead and get on with the vlog.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you. We do this every day, and I'm still so amazed by you. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us 2, me and you.
Hello friends, I am very excited to be coming to you with an update. It is a couple of days later and I finished the first book for this video. I finished First Lie Wins, and what a fun ride of a book. I was a little bit nervous to get into this one because I have seen so much hype for this book. I was a little worried it would let me down, kind of like None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, which this book is nothing like. But that's another thriller where I saw 5-star rating after 5-star rating and I was like, wow, this must be the best thriller I've ever read. And then it really disappointed me. I did not have that experience with this book. So I'm here to say the hype is real. This is a very interesting and complex mystery thriller that I think does something a little different. It's not your typical domestic thriller, despite how the cover looks, with the very domestic looking house with a woman looking out of the illuminated window. Like, that looks very generic, and I don't think this book is generic. So if that's what you're afraid of and you haven't picked this book up yet, don't worry about that. It is a little bit hard to talk about though without getting into spoilery territory. I do think it's the type of book that the less you know going in, the better. Though I will say it gave me vibes of Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Probably not for the reason you're thinking. This book has like a time loop element in it that this one definitely does not have. No backwards time travel element in this or anything. But where this book goes otherwise, where it's kind of more, I don't like undercover work, sort of. I don't know if you liked the vibe of this book or even Gillian McAllister's other book, Just Another Missing Person. I don't know, that's kind of the vibe that I got from this book. Let's see if I can give a non-spoilery synopsis. So basically we're following this main character named Evie, who at the start of this book, we don't know a lot about her, other than she has fairly recently started this relationship with this guy who lives in this small town, and at the very start of this book, she is starting to get to know his friends, and they're doing social gatherings together, and it's very clear that Evie is trying to learn things about this guy that she started dating and the people around him, like very specifically seeking out information about them that she can potentially use against them in the future or exploit. She's looking to get the upper hand over this group of people. We don't really know why, and it's also clear she's trying to keep her own identity protected for more reasons that we don't know why. So this book is a lot of lying. I think the title of this book is interesting as you learn more and more about Evie and what she is doing. I really enjoyed kind of unraveling this web, or like peeling back the layers on this mystery. You get fed small pieces at a time, and overall I really enjoyed where it went. I didn't quite get 5-star feelings from it, and I don't really know why that is. But at the end of it, I basically closed it and was like, that was a very wholly satisfying mystery thriller. It lived up to the hype. I really enjoyed it. So for me, it's getting a solid 4 stars. And I'm really excited that it is getting that hype, and I'm excited to see more and more people talk about it. I think this would make a very good book club discussion book because, again, there are so many layers and things to discuss in a spoilery setting. So if you're looking for a next thriller book club pick, this would be a good one. But yeah, this video is definitely off to a good start because I really enjoyed this one. Because I had such a satisfying thriller experience, I thought I would shift gears, and I have started Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is again a young adult romance book. At least that's what I'm getting. We are following our main character, who is the girl. Her name is Mallory. She's 18 years old, and she's at a very interesting point in her life. She should have been going off to college with her best friend because she graduated from high school, but it turns out that her mom has an illness, has a lot of chronic pain that's making it so that she can't care for Mallory's younger siblings. So Mallory instead is living at home and working, making money to support her 2 younger sisters and her mom. So she's really not living life for herself. She's just trying to support her family. She's definitely had to grow up a lot, which I think is interesting for this book being marketed as a young adult book, but it is following an 18-year-old who does have very adult responsibilities. And already in the book, I don't have a bookmark in here, but I'm only in like the first quarter of the book. But it's already mentioned this main character's sexual, I don't know, habits, preferences. And so it's definitely not, I don't know, nothing has been explicit, but it's not pure young adult like I would more typically think of it. So I'm interested to see how that continues. And then the way that chess plays into this book is that Mallory used to be like a child prodigy at chess. Her father was the one who originally got her into it. There's definitely more to uncover with her father because it sounds like he passed away, but they were not on great terms when he passed away. And since he passed away, she stopped playing chess and she hasn't played it since. And then where this kicks off is her best friend asks her to play in this charity chess tournament. So she decides to. She finally like comes out of retirement, and she ends up beating a very famous very good chess player, who is this guy. So eventually, I imagine they're going to strike up a romance, but it is pretty early on in the book. I am going to go ahead and finish this book. I have the audio through Libro, and I do think it's going to read really quickly because it's a young adult romance. It just kind of flies by. I don't have to pay too close of attention. So I will plan on finishing this hopefully tonight, and then I can come back with an update, final thoughts on it, and we can just keep cruising on through this video, really hoping that this second one is as much of a success as the first one.
I hope it never ends. Let's be more than friends. Yeah. You know I'm here to stay every single day. Yeah. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two, me and you. I can't believe you love me.
All right, friends, I am back with my next update. I am wearing a blanket because I am freezing, because the world is freezing right now. So hopefully you don't mind that. But it is time for an update because, first of all, I finished Check and Mate. And I'm a little bummed because I didn't love this book, and I feel like I don't have a ton to say about it, but I'll do my best. I will say that I did enjoy the chess in this book, which I expected to. Not that I know anything about chess, but I watched Queen's Gambit along with the rest of the world when that was popular. And in general, I just love a competitive setting for a romance, for any book in general. But I do think it creates good, like, competitive banter when people are involved in some sort of competitive sport or game like chess. So I enjoyed that that picked up through the rest of this book and was included. The romance itself in this book, I feel like, was kind of bland. Like, other than the fun competitive nature of how these two are involved, I didn't feel a ton of chemistry otherwise. It just more felt like these two people are really good at this thing, so of course they're attracted to that within each other. But the personalities were kind of, I don't know, kind of bland. I did also continue to have a little bit of, again, confusion over the age of these characters and, again, like the target audience of this book. I'm just not sure who it's supposed to be for, because at some points in this book, these characters did read very young adult, very immature. They were in situations that feel very typical for a young adult romance book, but then at other times, because she's 18 and I think he's like 21 or 22, they are sometimes in more adult situations. And I did talk about how her home life is putting her into much more of an adult level of responsibility that I think is interesting and probably good for more of a young adult audience to read. It just kind of confused me because I think it would have only gotten more interesting had these characters be aged up into full-grown adults, competing in these same tournaments, having these same experiences, but then you can talk about those hard topics even more. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the right opinion to have or not. It just was part of what I was kind of pondering as I read this book, which I think took away from my enjoyment because I was being pulled out of the book to think about the logistics of the book. I don't know. You feel me? So it is a 3-star book for me. Definitely far from my favorite Ali Hazelwood. Now that I think about it, I actually, had I not known this book was written by Ali Hazelwood beforehand, I do not think I would have been able to pick out that this was written by Ali Hazelwood. I guess other than the tiny girl, large man dynamic that is in all of her books. But like otherwise, the humor and chemistry that I usually do feel in her romances, those were pretty much missing for me. So yeah, 3 stars, pretty unmemorable. I probably will forget a lot about this book as we go into the future. So I'd recommend it as a nice fun time if you're really looking for a romance that includes chess, but otherwise not anything particularly memorable. So with that, it's time to get into the next book, which I have actually, again, already started. I decided to pick up Shark Heart on some recent productivity sprints that I was doing with patrons, and I'm listening to the audio, so let's see how far into it I got. It looks like I'm 22% into this book. So the premise of this book is we're following this couple, really this man in this married couple, who is starting to turn into a great white shark. which is the most chaotic, random premise of a book that I can even think of, and I'm shocked that I'm reading it. But within the realm of this book, it's not as outlandish as it sounds. This is a very rare but known condition that happens to people in this world where for some reason they start to turn into some sort of wild animal. And it's very sad. As soon as he's diagnosed, when he tells his wife and he tells his family, like, they're all heartbroken because there's no cure for this, there's no reversing it. It's just like they know they have very limited time with this man as he is as a human. And yeah, this book just jumps right into that, so I'm not sure where else it's going to go. We've just been reading so far about his progression into turning into a shark, and it's been interesting learning about it because I wasn't necessarily expecting to learn so much about how this is changing not only his body but also like his senses and other things about how his brain works. He's apparently turning into a shark in every way, and it's interesting reading about him being conscious about that transition into the animal. It's just a little bit more detailed than I was expecting, which I think is making it more interesting than I was expecting. I am curious to see how I get on with the rest of the book in terms of emotionally connecting to it and like caring about it. I'm not quite there yet. I can recognize that this is a sad situation, but I'm not feeling sad yet. So we'll see how it goes for the rest of this book. I had put it down for a few days, so I'm gonna get back into it now. It's pretty quick and short because a lot of the pages are not full of text. Like there's a lot of very short pages and paragraphs. So it should be a quick read to get through the next, 78% of this book. So that's what I'm gonna do. Then I'll come back and let you know what I think about it. I am hopeful that this turns around and I really get emotional from the book, but we'll see.
Dancing up in the stars. Oh, where I'd rather be than with you. I can't believe you love me. I just feel so lucky. Still can't believe you love me.
Alrighty, so I finished Shark Heart and I didn't really like it. And I'm disappointed about that because I have seen such rave reviews for this book. I've seen so many people say that they cried over it. It was so emotional. They got so connected and attached to it. And I unfortunately just did not have that experience. I'm pretty sure I already told you what this is about, but basically it's mainly about this man who finds out he's turning into a great white shark. Though this book follows a lot of different perspectives. It's the type of book that just like jumps from person to person. It jumps in timelines, like you're just kind of getting everyone's point of view. So you get him, you get his wife, and then we also periodically get a bunch of other people in this society, a couple of people who are going through similar things. There's a character who's a pregnant woman who finds out that she is pregnant with birds instead of humans. There's a perspective of someone whose mother is turning into a reptile. It is as strange as the premise sounds, and I was really convinced after hearing reviews that it actually wasn't that weird when you read the book, but I don't know, maybe it's just my particular aversion to weird books, but I still thought it was pretty weird in nature. Some of it was interesting. Like I mentioned, I did enjoy some of the aspects of learning about how physiologically these people were changing, their bodies were changing, their senses were changing, their minds were changing, things with memory, like body temperature. It did explore many aspects. I just can't get past the fact that it's not real. I don't know, personal issue clearly because this book is beloved, but I, for some reason, did not connect to it emotionally. I can conceptually understand how this is a sad situation for these characters because it is a lot for them to grapple with, and it's essentially a death sentence when people find out that they are mutating into an animal. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to be some sort of metaphor or allegory or something for other types of diseases, like when people get diagnosed with cancer or have loved ones who start to develop Alzheimer's. I can kind of see the parallels there. It just still focused so much on the logistics of the mutating into animals that, I don't know, it just lost me. So I think I'm gonna give it 2 stars, which is definitely an unpopular opinion. I am glad that I gave it a try. There were some books that I read last year that had me thinking maybe I do like weird books, but then something like this comes along and I say, honestly, nope. I like to stick with realistic books, and mutating into animals is not for me. Maybe it's also just a me problem when it comes to emotional books, because I can think of a handful of books that have come out in the last year that other people have really emotionally connected to that I just haven't. Like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin comes to mind. We Spread by Ian Reid. Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. I'll have to keep thinking to see if I can think of any others that I would kind of put in this category of books that people really deeply connect to that I don't. So if you typically align with my reading tastes and you prefer realistic books and also plot-driven books, then I don't think this is the book for you. It wasn't the book for me. I would recommend skipping it. But if it sounds like something that you would connect with, a lot of people love it. So there's that. But definitely a disappointment. And time to move on to the last book for this video, No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I have not started this book at all yet, so I'll come back in a little bit to give you kind of the initial setup, the initial synopsis, before I completely finish it and give my final thoughts. So a couple more check-ins before this video is over. I will be back when I have my next update. All right, let's chat about No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I have started the book. I'm about 30% of the way through, so I can give you a little intro, some initial thoughts. This is an adult mystery thriller about these 3 sisters who, when they were younger, like preteen age, their parents were murdered in their house. At this point, we don't know anything about who did it. Nobody was ever convicted for the crime, and it appears that the only people who know the truth about what really happened are those 3 sisters. So we're getting a few different perspectives and timelines. The main perspective that we're reading from is Emma, who I believe is the oldest sister, and we're following her in present day. She's a full-grown adult. She is married. She's actually newly pregnant, and her husband have fallen upon hard times. So they're deciding to move back to Emma's childhood home, which is where those murders happened. And so they are kind of being reminded of everything that happened. Emma is having to tell her husband more about her past, and then she's trying to get back in touch with her sisters, who she's lost touch with since they all grew up, because she's trying to figure out, like, can she sell the house? What is she supposed to do? They all need to agree on decisions together. So they're reconnecting, and more truths are coming out about their past. We also are getting some flashback chapters from the other 2 sisters and their perspectives in the immediate aftermath of the murders, where they're being questioned by the police. And basically we're in their heads as they're giving their testimonies, their accounts of what was happening. There's a lot of questions about what the girls were doing that night of the murders. Apparently they were all sleeping together in their treehouse, but apparently they're also lying about that. So I'm not really sure what sister exactly knows what sister is responsible for what, but that's what we're finding out. So I'm definitely enjoying the book so far. It was pretty easy to get into. I'm enjoying the audiobook that I'm listening to, and I'd be surprised if this is any kind of like completely mind-blowing thriller, but hopefully it's satisfying by the ending. Hopefully there's some twists that I don't see coming. I am going to go ahead and finish reading this book, hopefully quickly. It should be by the end of today that I have it finished. Then I'll come back with my final thoughts and we can wrap up this video as a whole. All right, friends, time for a final update. Now that I have finished No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. Unfortunately, this was just extremely average. Were there twists and reveals in this book? Sure. Were they pretty much exactly what I would have expected and predicted had I sat down and make predictions? Probably. I don't know, and this book kind of just hinged on very convenient forgetfulness about some things that happened, and like secrets and withholding information for no other reason than progressing this plot. And it's not all that interesting of a plot to begin with. I don't know, I think I'm gonna rate this 3 stars, which honestly feels a little bit generous because I don't know if there's really anything good about it that I would say, but maybe that's also me just being a little bit extra harsh. After having read a really good and original feeling mystery thriller in this video, this one just feels like it's going to blend right in with all the other mystery thrillers that I've read. So unfortunately, a miss for me, and probably not a thriller that I would recommend to many people. So to wrap up this video, I'd say I ended up with 2 winners and 2, I don't know, duds. My 2 favorites were definitely First Lie Wins, which was 4 stars, and Check and Mate, which I gave 3 stars, but I do look back on fondly, so maybe it's more of a 3.5 actually, and these are probably my 2 strongest recommendations if the topics in these books sound interesting to you. Definitely let down by No One Can Know, very average, low 3 stars, and like I already talked about, Shark Heart was also a disappointment. 2 stars. I guess I would strongly recommend it to people that it sounds interesting too, but if you're skeptical about it, even after hearing other people's reviews, then I would say skip it, because I should have just trusted my gut on this one and known I wouldn't enjoy it. But that is all I have for this video. Please let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about, what your thoughts were. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? That's totally fine, and I would love to chat about it. Let me know if you haven't read any of them. Are they on your TBR? Did I convince you to pick any of them up, or maybe not pick them up? I would love to hear all that in the comments. Other than that, I don't have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.